Hello there, today I'm going to show you how to make a nice decent looking ground texture using Krita. So the first thing you'll want to do is open up Krita. As you can see, I've opened it right here. Next, you'll want to go to File, New. You'll want to create a document that is 256 by 256. And the resolution, keep it at 300 because you want some crisp quality resolution, you know? Click on Create and boom, there you go. This is our canvas, alright? This white area right here is called our canvas. Now, before we begin, I want to change the basic UI look. So I'm just going to go to this little corner over here and click on Big Paint 2. This is my sort of go-to UI look to Krita. I just like how this looks. So the first thing you'll want to do right now is with layer 2 selected over here, you'll want to go to the fill tool and select a color that closely resembles brown. Something like that, that's a good color, and boom. Now what you want to do is name the layer. Let's call it background. Now what you'll want to do is make a new layer. To do this, click on the plus sign right here. You can see it, and boom, you have a new layer. On this layer, you'll want to make a box. To do that, go to the rectangle tool, select a brush, whichever brush you want. I honestly prefer something that has sharp edges as opposed to like you have a bunch of brushes in Krita. Some of them have soft edges like this, as you can see. So I want to go for something that's about that big, about that sharp. The size of the brush, let's change it to something around, well, first of all, let's make it 0 because why not, you know? And now we'll want to type, literally don't do anything, just type 5. And now let's just make a box real quick. So now what we want to do is enable wrap around mode. Do this by pressing W. As you can see over here, it says you're activating wraparound mode, but have not enabled OpenGL. This is a common problem I've had. All you have to do is go into settings, configure Krita, display, OpenGL, enable it. Boom. That's it. If you press W, boom, there you go. So what does wraparound mode do? It basically tiles your canvas to fit the entire view. So literally I can go on for a while. As you can see, this is very helpful when you're trying to make seamless textures and textures in general, or even tiles or whatever for Unity. Let's rename the upper layer over there. We can name it Box Kun or Box Chan, whatever you want. You do you, okay? By default, Krita will make a layer above whatever layer is selected. So I selected the background layer and made a new layer. Let's rename this layer to Line Art. Now you can just name it whatever you want. Line Art Re as well. You know what? Line Art Re. Why not? With your brush tool selected, that's this freehand brush tool, you can press B for that and selecting any random brush you like. I personally prefer the Ink Brush 25. It's once you right click on your screen, go to this little thing over here, select ink, and as you can see, you have a lot of ink brushes. I like Ink 25, so I'm just going to stick with that. And now let's start painting a lot of happy trees. Alright, so now you'll want to enable wraparound mode, and the reason why I wanted you to make the box in the beginning was so that, well, you'll know where your actual canvas is, because currently I can't see where my canvas is. Oh my god, what am I doing? I'm drawing in nowhere. And now I know where I'm drawing. See the importance of boxes. Box Kun is very important over here. With the line art layer selected, let's start drawing. As you can see, I've done this in a sort of time-lapse thing because I've repeated this particular process quite a few times, as you can see on the screen, and each time I started in a different location, and I found that the best way to actually start would be from a corner or from a side, not from the center or from the upper position. In fact, the best location is in a corner, because that way you'll kind of have a piece that joins with everything from the beginning itself, and then you can just work your way around it. Just keep on drawing rock looking things, and those eventually will form the cracks in your ground. Now, if you have a sort of fidgety hand, that really helps, because that way you'll get like nice sharp looking rocks or cracks, whatever you want to call this. And while drawing these, I kind of kept a few things in mind. The first one is I tried to make sure that my drawing was as clean as possible. And by that I mean having no unnecessary lines. Now, as you can see over here, to the left, you can see this sort of weird looking small protrusion coming out. That's very messy, and that will not look good at all in the final piece. Next, we have starting your line too late. And as you can see in the same picture, on the right side, I've started the line too late and hence there's a gap. And that gap kind of, it doesn't look good over here because of how the rocks are. We are trying to show that the ground is made up of all of these cracks. And if there's a space within the crack, and that line just seemingly ends abruptly and is just there, it kind of looks weird. Now the final thing was I made sure that none of the rocks were too different in size, so I tried to keep all of the rocks in the same size range as the others, just so that you wouldn't have one odd rock sticking out of a huge crowd of rocks. And yeah, that's about it. That's all I thought of while actually making these lines, and that's really all that you have to think about. And there you go. What I kind of want to do now is basically just sort of have color in this, not just have this sort of plain looking ground like color. And what I want to do now is just kind of create a swatch like system. So I'm going to make a new layer, call this swatch. I think that's how you spell swatch. I'm not sure, but we'll go with it anyways. And I'm going to pick 3 colors within this triangle. This triangle represents the saturation of the color. And I want something that kind of shows that a rock that I'm painting is above the others. That's a good looking color. And next, I want to have something that's like dark. That's a really good dark color. And then one that's almost, if not black, very close to black. Maybe I might mess around with the hue of this that's on the wheel. I might change it to a little bit towards red just because. And there you go. These 3 are the main colors we're going to use. And yeah, let's just move on. I'm just going to pick a few random. You know what? Let's just move on with the highest rocks first, and then we'll go lower and lower and lower and lower. And yeah, let's select the color selector tool, that is P on the keyboard, or you can press Control as well. That's like a quick select sort of thing. And I've made a new layer over here just so that I can basically draw on that layer but not ruin the line art layer in case if anything does happen. And I'm going to name this layer highlight first, and I'm going to keep this layer below our line art layer. Okay, so now here's the fun part. Pick a bunch of random rocks you want. I mean, I'm going for this rock and this, and no, and this rock and this rock. In fact, you know what? I might as well just fill it at the same time. I'm not trying to fill the entire thing. However, that is also something you can do. And a nice little tip for you is use the contiguous selection tool and select your rocks or ground or whatever you want. And if you don't have this little docker over here, it's called the tool options. All you have to do is go into settings, and you should see Dockers, select tool options. Now within this, you'll want to select this, the one where the 2 squares are kind of intersecting, but like they've joined together essentially. It's the add. And now whenever you click on, there you go, as you can see, it's just selecting everything that is of this color but within the outline. So it'll really help you with blocking in your color. So if you want, don't do that. That's one key note to make sure of. You'll want to select your paint bucket tool, and then you'll want to make sure that fill entire selection is on, and there you go. See, so you have nice little blocked out looking layer. I kind of like it this way, so I'm just going to stick with this. I kind of want to make an inner outline for all the rocks just because I kind of like it that way. It looks a little bit more interesting. If you do have any mishaps over here like this, oh no, I didn't want to do that, just select your eraser. That's, you can right click over here and go into erasers. You should see a soft edge eraser. Just go for that, and boom, there you go. Boom jams. It's awesome. It's a fun time. So there you go. And that's how we get rid of any mistakes. Alternatively, you could simply just use Control Z. So if you make a mistake, oh no, I've gone into several rocks. What am I ever going to do? Oh wait, Control Z. Ah, yes. And now I'm just going to continue this on for a few more rocks because you really don't want too many rocks that are above everything else. So yeah, keep that in mind as well as you select your rocks. Alright, and now that I'm done with this, I kind of like how many rocks I've chosen. One thing I forgot to mention is you do not want to actually create a sort of pattern. So do not pick, say, this color right here and then pick this color followed by this color. Do not pick anything that will form a sort of pattern. You want an absolute random selection of colors of rocks or ground that you want, and that's a very, very important thing to note, because otherwise the final piece will kind of look like this where there's an obvious pattern going on. So yeah, you want to try and avoid that. Next, we'll want to go and make the middle layer of our little ground texture right here. And to do this, I'm going to make a new layer and let's call this mid-tone, because why not? And remember, press Ctrl and click on this little swatch that we have here. Boom, there you go, we have this color selected. And now we're going to repeat exactly what we did for the previous one, now with this color. However, try and select a few more rocks than you did earlier, and by a few I mean a lot more rocks. In fact, try and just select a whole bunch of rocks for yourself, and that's it really. Alright, now that I've finished off the middle layer, I'm going to go for the final layer, and this one, much like the upper layer, has to be to a minimum. The only thing I'm thinking about right now is whether there's a cluster of one color in one area, because that really, it kind of makes the area stand out, which in turn will make your texture not so seamless, and boom, there you go. That's a little ground texture right there. Now, as you can see, I've left a few pieces around here and there. Oh, forgot about this one. This is a little guy. He thought he could escape. There's no escape. As you can see, I did leave a few pieces here and there that haven't been drawn on, and that is just because I felt like that would add a little bit of a variation. If you want to, you can color those portions in. Maybe you can use a lighter tone or the darkest tone, or whatever you want. That's completely up to you. Literally, there is no perfect way of doing this. There's no algorithm or anything you have to follow. This is literally just draw. That's it. That's all you can do for this particular method. However, there are many other ways to draw this. There you go. So yeah, that's it. That's all you need to do this. Alright, so for the final step, we have to export this. Now, I do not exactly want this sort of border that we created early in the video. So what we're going to do is disable the layer that has this border. And as you can see, I have my layer over here, cleverly named Box Coon. I'm going to click on this little eye icon right here, and boom, he's gone. Alright. Now for the final step, all you have to do is click on File, click on Export. So what I'm going to do now is select PNG, and let's name this to Ground Texture. Now you can leave the settings as they were by default, or you can bump the compression down to 1, or heck, you can even bump it all the way up to 9. Now compression just reduces the file size and doesn't necessarily change the quality of the image, but I like to bring it all the way down to 1 just to reduce the chance, if any, of quality loss. Alright, next we want to click on OK. That's it, there you go. See, this is our little texture right here. This is how it looks like when you've put it into a game. This is probably what it'll look like in a game, and there you go. That's our little texture. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you have a lot of creative freedom over here. And by that I mean you can literally draw whatever you want. I drew small grounds over here just because I felt like it. However, if you want, you can draw something like this with big grounds, or something like this where it doesn't even look like a ground. I don't know what this is. Or even this. I'm not judging, okay? This, if it's a ground to you, it's okay to me. I'm gonna end the video with this. This is the entire process I used to make the ground texture. Yeah, and if you want to know how to use this, Demkeys has done an excellent tutorial where he uses this same texture in Unity to make a sort of 2D level with a ball rolling in it and everything. It's awesome. So yeah, just check it out if you want, and thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.